Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Nerdy Multiverse and yet another breakdown. Today, we will be breaking down and giving our initial thoughts on the 7th episode of the 4th season of The Boys. And the title of the 7th episode of this season is The Insider. And this episode begins with yet another one of Vought's projects that was actually first introduced in the Gen V series, known as the Avenue V show. This one is a Christmas special. And if you couldn't already tell just by the show's logo, the show is also a show with puppets. So obviously this is a play and a parody on Sesame Street. It is also being aired on V Kids, a parody of Disney Kids. The puppets are also the same sort of puppets that Sam from the Gen V series would also see though, as he would imagine those that he is attacking as cartoonish puppets instead of their real selves, to deal and cope with that guilt of killing them. Ryan is running this special here, and this is due to his father Homelander. He greenlit the script and everything, and Homelander wants him to do it for him. So clearly that whole thing about not forcing Ryan to do things like he was when he was a child himself is just simply not true. So Ryan takes a break from the rehearsal. Now, when he leaves and the title card for the Boys show pops up, we can see in the background the puppet of A-Train's slumped over in the chair. This is definitely a message, but as for what it is foreshadowing or telling us, there could be a couple of things in my opinion. Either it is the foreshadowing to his death, or it's a great way of giving that message that A-Train is no longer a puppet of Vought's. I believe that the cabin set that they are also filming this in here is also pretty reminiscent of the one from the 2nd season. We then cut to the Vought Tower as Sage walks in on Homelander and Firecracker already conducting their meeting, in which they moved up without telling her. Clearly due to this whole, milk situation, Firecracker and Homelander are the two running things here. It is also shown that Vought wishes to start selling Homelander NFTs, which just makes a lot of sense if you know what I mean. We also see that Homelander discovered the bug that was put under the table at Tech Knight's mansion from the previous episode. So obviously, as Firecracker informed him last week, they have all come to the conclusion that Cameron Coleman was not actually the leak, and someone else is working with Butcher, the Boys, and the CIA. Sage says it's not a good idea to tussle with the CIA and they should not go and kill Butcher, because he is just going to die anyway due to the tumor in his head. We then get the reveal of another part of Homelander's huge plan, as Homelander questions if their shooter is ready to go, obviously being their way of eliminating Robert Singer. And the shooter and pretty much their spy plays a big role and a huge twist towards the end of this episode. Meanwhile, the team's real leak, A-Train, is listening in on all of this outside of the room, cutting to the deep as he reads his own book, Still Waters Run Deep, as he is next to his lover, which is, yes, still the octopus from previous seasons. And something I literally just figured out recently, the octopus is voiced by none other than Tilda Swinton. Starlight is now on call with her mother, who is just scolding her for her actions that Firecracker exposed her for doing in a previous episode. Her mother also mentions the Bible group she was a part of, in which we did see in a previous season, where the character of Ezekiel also was. All while Hughie listens in on the two while sitting on his laptop, looking over the files that he has on Victoria Newman. He still has that Bryman audiovisual sticker on his laptop. This is of course where he used to work and where he met Butcher as the two took on Translucent in the very first season of the show. Turns out that Hughie also kept Starlight's costume, in which she had thought she threw out. This will also play into that big twist towards the end of the episode. Once again, we see A-Train spying on Sage as she meets with a man and hands him what looks like some files. Now, this whole meeting isn't actually really touched on later at all, but this could be their shooter, although I believe it is possible their personal chameleon is only able to transform into female characters. Now, at the boys' HQ, as Butcher arrives, looking in pretty bad shape as he informs everyone that Samir is actually alive, and he has been holding him as prisoner in hopes to develop more of the virus. He is informing them of this and the danger of the virus in a show of good faith, as Joe Kessler pops in and out of the scene, trying to tell Butcher to stop telling them this, and pushing him with the fact that he actually does want that global pandemic and genocide with the anti-soup virus. Butcher has also had Frenchie pulled from prison as they will have him continue working on the virus. Clearly, Kimiko and him need to work on some things as the two have been ignoring each other non-stop. Cutting to Ryan at the Vought Tower as he looks at all of the presents under the Christmas tree, as he is caught by a package that was sent by Butcher. Inside of it is a photo of Becca, Butcher, and their dog, Tara. It's pretty cool seeing that despite all of the gifts under the tree, he was only interested in that one from Butcher, showing just how much he still cares for Butcher as well as his mother. We then see how multiple characters are planning on getting away from all of this, as M puts Butcher back in charge as he plans to get himself, Janine, and Monique out of there, all while A-Train and Ashley also speak about escaping themselves, as Ashley has also fired her own assistant as an act of mercy to get him away from all of this. She says it's so easy to become a monster in this place, as she recalls how she had Cameron Coleman killed and framed for no reason. Vought has also confirmed Cameron's death, by the way, of course, blaming it on effects from a vaccine. As Butcher gets ready for another mission, Joe Kessler scolds him for his growing likeness for Supes, and wonders if it comes from the fact that he got with Queen Maeve before, which of course happened in the last season. Butcher says that he is doing this as he gave word to Becca before she died, which is where Kessler mocks him and reveals that Butcher actually cheated on Becca when they were together. Him, Starlight, and Hughie head into the assassin's apartment building where they find Secret Service files and the layout of Robert Singer's gathering. They find a woman tied up and bloodied in the closet of this apartment, but it turns out that she is actually the assassin or spy here. And as she escapes the building and transforms into another woman, we see her way of shapeshifting is tearing off her own skin. A-Train then shows up at M's house as he prepares to leave with his family. A-Train mentions the kid that he saw at the hospital from the last episode and how much that meant to him, and how it made him feel like a real hero. M mentions his father and grandfather, who were both killed by all of this soup stuff, as his father was killed by a soup and his grandfather was killed by Soldier Boy himself. A-Train explains that if he leaves now, him and his family will not have a world left to live in, as they need to fight back and stop Homelander from taking over completely. And yes, of course, M is always rocking that of an iconic hip-hop t-shirt. And speaking of t-shirts, feel free to check out our Scorched Earth merch inspired by the series. The link is in the description below. All of your support, regardless, is greatly appreciated though. Anyways though, we cut to Samir, who continues to work on the virus for the boys as Frenchie and Kimiko watch over him. and work on their own issues together. He ends up apologizing to her for denying her visitation while he was locked up, and she ends up explaining the entire Shining Light situation that she went through when she was a child, and why she is not able to talk. Ever since she was a child, Shining Light would throw her and other children into sort of a fighting pit, and the first one to scream or speak would lose. So, throughout all of the pain she endured and caused, she learned not to speak. And after it was all done, she just couldn't do it anymore. The two situations reflect on each other and how the two are both trying to forgive themselves for their past. We see Homelander and Firecracker at the same cell that Queen Maeve was held in, capable of holding supes, of course, as he sends Ryan a voicemail urging him to continue with the Christmas special. As the two head inside of the cell to confront who they consider as the real leak, which turns out to be Webweaver, who owns up to everything and anything even though he really isn't the actual leak. Homelander ends up killing him in what is likely one of his most gruesome kills so far, as he rips him completely in half. Very reminiscent of Sentry's kill over Carnage from Marvel Comics. The Deep returns back to his room after clearly seeing Sage, which is obvious due to the quote-unquote junk food that he carries around. He gets into an argument with his octopus lover Ambrosia, and he ends up completely snapping, breaking her cage and killing her. The protector of the ocean and the sea has now gone down the path of killing the creatures he is the sworn protector of. I'm sure Aquaman would be pretty disappointed in you, Deep. Anyways, Ambrosia's death takes extremely long and she keeps going in and out of breath, reminding me of when Deadpool was quote-unquote dying in his second movie, bringing that comedic effect to such an event. He snaps out of it as he tells Homelander that he will kill anyone he tells him to, reminding us of when he was sent as an assassin to eliminate political figures in the previous season. So he is then ordered to go do the same thing to the boys now alongside Black Noir 2.0. He tries to get her to stop as he brings out all of the old snacks that the two used to eat together when they worked together. It is shown that she was not even aware of the internment camps, but she just shrugs it off as this is the only way for her to gain this amount of power. Butcher and Starlight get back to the Flatiron at the Boys HQ as they are met by the Deep and Black Noir. The four get into a big fight and we can see Butcher uses a crowbar for part of it. Now, it doesn't do anything here at all, but this is a big reminder of the comics as his weapon was infamously a crowbar. Butcher has weapons hidden around the entire room. Obviously, he was expecting an attack to happen eventually, but they don't do much as him and Starlight are losing pretty decisively. He tries to get Kessler to take over his body once more and do what he did to Ezekiel. But just as he gave Kessler the silent treatment earlier, he is now getting the silent treatment himself. But that does not matter as M shows up with the minigun and A-Train comes in to save them as well. Finally seeing A-Train in action as he effortlessly dodges the Deep's attacks and puts him on the floor, leaving him to Starlight to finish off. They don't get the opportunity to actually kill him though, as they don't really know how to completely take care of him. They may be able to severely injure the two, but they have no idea what actually will put him down. So they need to leave before Noir gets back and kills them. During this entire thing, Noir decides to speak and fly, which of course shocks Butcher and Starlight. This is because nobody outside of Vought actually knows that the OG Black Noir was killed and then replaced. A-Train tries to get Ashley to leave, but she refuses before reminding A-Train to remove his chip, as she looks back at a picture of her younger self where she was much more rebellious, which is ironic as she has now risen to the top of a corrupt organization. M then decides that he cannot leave yet and has to continue fighting as he sends his family away themselves. Homelander, shockingly, is very upset that A-Train has betrayed him and wonders why he would do such a thing. But I mean, come on man, we all know how badly you treated him in the past. The only person you could have likely trusted the most was the OG Black Noir, and you killed him. Homelander ends up kicking Sage out of the team after finding out that she did know A-Train was the real leak the entire time. And just like Maeve used to do, she sort of mocks him and leaves him with the more idiotic members of the team. She wishes him luck without her, and I do wonder if Sage will go on to work with the boys now. The Deep and Noir 2.0 return battle damaged as they find out that Sage has not only been fired from the team, but she also played the two of them, as she was getting with both of them this entire time. We then cut to Samir as he injects the virus into Kimiko's leg and escapes. Obviously, with her healing factor, they just amputate the leg, which will grow back, starting off as a baby leg, however, just like Deadpool. They will use her leg as a sample for the virus and have Frenchie take over for Samir now that he is back with the team. Midway through the live showing of the Christmas special, Ryan stops the show and starts speaking directly to the camera, standing up to his own father and reminiscing about his mother and her love that she had for Butcher and her family. I think that Ryan will eventually play a key role in taking down his own father of Homelander, as he slowly shows more loyalty and care for Butcher. Ashley urges them to go to commercial, as this scene is an exact mirror of when Homelander snapped on set from season 3. This whole thing is why Butcher continues to have hope for the kid, as he passes out in the middle of the bar as Kessler just sits there smirking. It is getting pretty bad for Butcher, but he has to make it into the final season. So maybe his tumor will be cured somehow, perhaps by Sage. After Hughie falls asleep, Starlight gets up and takes his stuff from the safe, and as her eyes blink, they look exactly like chameleon eyes. Kind of like Mystique's eyes would show when she shapeshifts, likely taking Hughie's things to get rid of his files on Newman. Clearly, the assassin has shapeshifted into Starlight and has made her way inside of the enemy ranks without anyone realizing it. All it took was eye contact and physical touch, as we see the real Starlight is locked away somewhere unknown. And this is where the episode ends off. And overall, another very good episode in my opinion. And honestly, I think that this may be my favorite episode out of this season so far. The huge twist at the end was pretty shocking, and I'm curious to see how far this chameleon stuff will go. As usual, everything is very enjoyable about the series, and I never really have anything negative to say about it. The finale is right around the corner, and I cannot wait for next week. But yeah, that about does it for this episode, from me at least, but of course I would like to hear your thoughts on the episode as well, so make sure to leave them down below. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed our breakdown and review on this episode, don't forget to give it a like. And with that being said, we will see you all the next time that we go through and explore the nerdy multiverse.